And a very good morning to you. It's John Fradgley from the Bell Legal Group, back with you for another program of The Law and You here on 4CRB. As always, it's your opportunity to get free legal advice between now and 9:30. All you need to do is get on the telephone on 55208888. That number again, 55208888. And don't forget, if you're south of the Tweed River, you do need to put 07 in front of the number. And for those of you who may not be able to get to a phone to ring during the program, don't forget that you can send emails to talkback@4crb.com. That's talkback, all one word, at 4crb.com. And we would be able to deal with those questions that are received by email next week if we need to. But in the meantime, this is your program. It's your opportunity to get that free legal advice. And who knows, you could actually be our very first caller for this morning, because at the moment we have no calls online, so you can get through very quickly. Just a few things while we're waiting for some calls to come through. One thing that really scared me when I realised the other day was that it's only 134 days to Christmas. What a frightening thought that this year has just gone so quickly, and before we know it, Christmas will be upon us, and another year past, and 2020 will be there. So time to probably start thinking about your end-of-year planning and Christmas presents and all that sort of thing, rather than leaving it to the last minute. Thank you to all the people who called in last week and made for such an interesting program. Certainly were some varied calls, which was really good. I was trying to talk about a couple of matters, but calls overtook it, so I'll just sort of continue on with those today while we're waiting for some calls to come through. And that's just another reminder that from the 1st of October in Queensland, there will be no more paper certificates of title after the 1st of October. So you need to be aware of that. At the present time in Queensland, if your title is mortgaged to a bank or another financial institution, then there is no title deed issued. But if your title is unencumbered, you would be holding a title deed, and from the 1st of October, that title deed will no longer need to be produced in order to complete a land transaction. Now, I did have a caller a couple of weeks ago mentioning that he was worried about the opportunity for fraud, given that title deeds are going to be done away with. But there has been a directive come through in the last week or so from the Queensland, from the Titles Office, advising that the requirements for the witnessing of signatures on documents that are required to be lodged with the Titles Office is going to increase significantly. And in fact, the requirements for witnessing are going to be very similar to those which I have to adhere to as a notary public when witnessing documents for international business. And that is that you need to keep a record of the transaction of the documents that were witnessed for 7 years. You've got to make sure that you identify the person with appropriate identification. So it's certainly no longer going to be just a simple case of rocking up to the JP and getting your signature witnessed. But enough of that. We've got a caller online. We'll say a very good morning to Michael. G'day, Michael. How are you today?
Top of the world, John, and you?
Well, I'm not quite at the top of the world, but I can see it from here.
Great.
How can I help?
My sister is an executor, and she's a lot older than I am. She's an executor of an estate, and the only asset left in the estate is the nursing home unit.
Right.
The person concerned died over 2 years ago, and the people who run the nursing home set the price of the unit, as you're probably aware.
Yep.
What other options do we have?
So was the deceased actually in a nursing home, or were they in a retirement village?
Yeah, sort of a bit of both.
Okay, because if they were in a nursing home, you pay what's called a residential accommodation deposit, and there is a requirement to refund that. I think from memory it's within 14 days of production of a copy of the probate of the will.
Well, no, it wasn't that then, John. It must have been the other one.
Yeah.
She paid out 300-odd thousand some years ago.
Yep. Okay. So that will very much depend on the terms of the agreement. So probably what you need to do is get someone to review the agreement and see what the obligations on the retirement village are. And unfortunately, as I say, Michael, they do vary from institution to institution. So it's just not one of those one-size-fits-all situations.
Oh, okay.
So you would need to look at the documents. I have seen some where there's virtually been no time obligation for them to repay the money, and then I've seen others. I'm administering an estate at the moment where the deceased was living in a retirement village out on the Darling Downs, and there is an obligation if the operators don't resell within 1 year, then there's an obligation for them to pay the money out in that year. So that's what you need to do, Michael. You need to go and have the agreement reviewed to see what it says about when the money should be repaid. And you might also need to check whether you do in fact need probate of the will or not, because if you haven't got probate, that could be another delay. Although if
probate's been done,
okay,
all her assets have been sold
except
and
the nursing
distributed to
home,
beneficiaries.
Except the retirement
This is the
village.
only thing that's left that's holding the whole thing up.
It's very frustrating, isn't it?
You can say that again.
It's very frustrating, isn't it?
Yes. John, thanks for your help.
No, well, look, that's what I would suggest you do, Michael, and hopefully that'll resolve it for you.
Okay, thank you.
Cheers now.
Bye.
And the time on 4CRB is just past 12 minutes past 9. The Law and You is the program. 55208888 is the number, as we say. A very good morning to Russell. G'day, Russell. How are you?
Good morning, John.
How can we help?
I wonder whether you can help me. Many years ago, or probably about 25 years ago, we had a will made out. Then we wanted to have a look at it again. We went and the lawyer couldn't find the will.
Oh, dear.
So he remade another one for us. Now, we've got copies of the will. When something happens and we pass on, can we use any lawyer that we want, or do we have to go back to...
No, the only time that you would have to use the lawyer who made the will would be if that lawyer had been appointed as the executor of the will. But if you've got an executor, then even if the will says I direct my executors to use ABC law firm, that's not a mandatory imposition upon the executors. They can basically choose whichever lawyer they wish.
Thank you very much. You just answered a query on that. My wife and I have been talking about it. I wonder what on earth we do, and I thought, I'll ring John Fradgley.
Good on you. Good on you, Russell. Well, thanks very much for the call.
Thank you very much.
All the best now. Time just coming up to 14 minutes past 9. The Law and You is the program. The phone number 55208888. Don't forget, if you're south of the Tweed River, you've got to put 07 in front of the number. And we say a very good morning to Bernadette. G'day, Bernadette. How are you?
Good morning, John. I'm good, thank you.
How can I help?
John, look, I've got my son is intellectually disabled, non-verbal, and I'm wondering, what do I need to do with regards to getting a will in place for him? Because generally wills have to be signed by the person making the will, and he's not able to do that. So
right.
What happens to his assets when he dies?
Does he have legal capacity?
No.
Okay.
No.
All right. Well, what you'll need to do there, Bernadette, is probably have what's called a statutory will done. Does he have any siblings at all?
Yes, he does. He has 5 siblings.
Right. Okay. I'm just trying to think what the situation is under the rules of intestacy. I've got a feeling that if he's not married, then the estate would go to you or to his parents, and if you fail to survive, then it would go to his siblings. But the other option would be to get a statutory will done.
Okay, and where do I go to?
Well, you'd need to go and see a lawyer to get that done. Does he have much in the way of assets?
Does he? It's substantial, and he's got a car as well, so, yeah.
Yeah, all right. Well, look, I think then you would probably be advised to to go and see a solicitor. Alternatively, which area on the Gold Coast do you live? Which suburb?
I'm in Robina.
Robina. You could go to the Robina Community Legal Centre, which operates on a Thursday evening. It's called My Community Legal. It operates from 6:30 p.m. until 8:30 p.m. every Thursday evening over at the Gold Coast City Council Robina Community Centre.
Okay.
At least in the first instance, you could go there and get a little bit more advice. And obviously, the nature of this program doesn't permit me to go into things as much as I would like to. But if you went and saw the My Community Legal, they would certainly be able to set you in the right direction. So it may be that the rules of intestacy might help because the costs involved in getting a statutory will can be quite significant.
I see. All right. Okay, look, thank you very much for your help.
Okay, Bernadette, all the very best. Time on 4CRB just keeps rolling along. It's just coming up to 17 minutes past 9 as we say a very good morning to Julie. G'day, Julie. How are you today?
Yeah, not too bad, thanks, John.
That's good. How can we help?
Yes, I'm wondering if you know anything about the ladies that come out from Thailand with the visas that get in touch with the old gentlemen and they have 3 months or 2 months and then they have to go back for a month and they come out and then after 3 times out, if they don't get married, they're not allowed to come back.
Right.
Do you know anything about that? My ex-husband is in that situation. He's 80.
Right.
And he's now got a 40-year-old Thai lady, doesn't speak English, and you know anything about that?
Well, no, I don't. I'm not sure what sort of visa they would be coming out on. Well,
she's making out like she's a carer for him.
Yep. Unfortunately, unless you can find out what sort of visa she is on, you may not be able to... Well, it would be a carer, because
he's got emphysema, lung cancer and asbestosis. He's not very well, but he's 81, and she's not 40.
Yes, it's a rather
she's
seen unfortunate
a
situation.
Spot where she can get into Australia. She's got to marry him. She's just gone back last Wednesday. She's coming back in a month or 3 weeks. If she doesn't marry him, then she can't come back.
Right, okay.
So my kids are up in arms.
Yes, I can imagine. Yes. Look, what I would suggest you do is it would probably be best to speak to a migration agent. So there are quite a number of lawyers on the Gold Coast who are registered migration agents, just to check whether you're able to obtain any information about the visa that she is on.
It would be a carer.
Yeah, well, maybe not. Until you know, you don't know. She could just be on a tourist visa, and if she's
she's definitely on a carer.
On a carer's visa. All right. Okay. Well, it'd be worthwhile checking with a migration agent, or alternatively the immigration department about what the rules are. They might be able to send you an information sheet in relation to the rules that apply to that sort of visa. Is your husband still legally competent?
At the moment he is. He's pretty sick. He could die. They actually gave him 6 weeks to live 3 years ago and he's still plodding along.
Right, so
he's a heavy drinker.
He's defying the odds.
Yes. Even the doctors can't understand it.
Well,
and he did get a big payout with asbestosis, so you can imagine this girl thinks all of Christmas has come at once. Yes.
Well, if she were to get your husband, if she were to get married, then she will have a claim of sorts against your husband, but it wouldn't, given the short length of the marriage, I don't think it would be a significant claim. But you don't want to be tied up in that if you can possibly avoid it. So the best thing would be to speak to immigration, see what you can find out about.
Would you know their number, John?
Department of Immigration, I don't know that I actually do have their number. No, believe it or not, it's one of the few that I don't have on my list here, I'm sorry. But if you if you do you have access to a computer?
Yep.
Okay, well...
Are they on the coast or would it be in Canberra?
No, I think from memory now their office is in Brisbane.
Right.
So the contact number, it was there a moment ago. Where are we? Telephone. Right. 131881.
131881.
Yeah, so if you give them a call, and they're in Brisbane, and hopefully they'd be able to send you out an information sheet in relation to the type of visa that she's on, so that you can see what the conditions are that apply generally to that visa, so that you would be able to then determine whether there's been any breach of the visa.
He's already paid for her to come out again in 3 weeks' time.
Yeah, there's the biggest thing would be, well, there would be two things. One would be if he doesn't marry her, then I don't think that she would have a claim.
Right.
If he does marry her, then obviously she becomes a spouse and she comes within the class of persons entitled to claim. The other thing you've got to be worried about too is that if he does marry her, it will automatically revoke any existing will that he has.
Yeah, that's what the kids are worried about.
So if he has a will which leaves everything to the kids,
that's
are the
correct.
children still on reasonable terms with him?
2 of them are.
And have they
2 out
tried
of
to
3.
speak to him?
Yes. And he said, don't be ridiculous, I'm 81, but they're actually living in a brand new caravan up Bundaberg way.
Who's that?
And it's only got a double bed, so... There's a lot of these women, after the men with a house or a unit.
Yes, I've certainly known of these issues in the past. I mean, there are some who are, very nice and genuine people, and there are others who are not. So it is one of those unfortunate
they have
situations.
An Australian name, and they're out here to get as many old men as they can.
Yep. Well, we'll have to leave it there, Julie. I'm not sure. We did have another caller online, but she's dropped off. But we'll just leave it there, and we'll go to a commercial break.
Are you serious about losing weight? Vitadiet has been helping Australians lose weight and live healthier since 1987. All Vitadiet shakes, soups, bars and desserts are gluten-free, made in Australia, and have been perfected over 30 years. There is a Vitadiet eating plan, and yes, you do eat real food. Plus, use the Vitadiet ketone sticks to gauge your fat-burning performance. To find out how you could lose up to 3 kilos in your first week, visit vitadiet.com.au for your local pharmacy or call 1300 Shakes. Vitadiet. Time to try it?
A sponsor.
Hello! Jason Farber here from Pure Wellness Bulk Foods. We've spent over 20 years manufacturing for supermarkets, major supplement and health food brands. This gave us first-hand insight into how they achieve their massive profits. We at Pure Wellness purchase from Australian suppliers, manufacture, pack and sell direct to you. We have all bulk foods including sweets, herbs and spices, bath and beauty, sports supplements, weight loss and lots more. 25 kilo to 25 grams, we have it. Mention this ad and get 10% off. Pure Wellness Bulk Foods at warehouse prices. 42 Lawrence Drive, Nerang, or shop online at purewellness.com.au.
A sponsor.
And we're very quickly approaching the end of the program. And if you're still there and wish to call back, presently there's no one online, so you'll get straight through. Sorry for the delay there earlier. One of the other things that I wanted to mention this morning also was the increasing willingness of courts now to make cost orders against unsuccessful litigants when they bring a family provision claim against an estate. So there have been a few cases in both New South Wales and Queensland, and some in Victoria actually, where the estate was a relatively modest estate, say 300,000 or 400,000, and the legal costs in the action have got up around about 150,000. And the judges have been extremely critical in those matters of the plaintiffs and also of the lawyers. And in some instances have refused to make orders for costs to be paid out of the estate because it's going to impact so significantly on the estate. So just bear that in mind. It's probably something that may be relevant for Julie, where if her former husband's carer was to bring a claim against the estate, if she and her former husband don't get around to marrying, then that may be an issue that she would confront in those circumstances. We'll be back after this word from our sponsor.
Exit Timeshare now. Yes, you heard right. Exit Timeshare now. For those wanting to become timeshare free and completely out of their timeshare contract, the solution you've been looking for is in Australia now. Whether you can't use it anymore, the kids don't want it, or you simply can't afford it, our Exit Timeshare team will cancel your timeshare contract. No more maintenance fees, no more stress, no more worry. Simply call the Exit Timeshare Now team on 1800 77 22227 or go to exittimesharenow.com.
Another sponsor.
Harvey Norman Cooking. Everything for the heart of your home. Spend $3.99 or more on selected cooking appliances in one transaction and receive bonus Wolf Blast wine valued at $300. Buy now with 50 months interest-free. No deposit, no interest with 50 equal monthly payments until September 2023. Minimum financed amount $750. Approved applicants only. Interest applies if you do not comply with terms and conditions. Fees and exclusions apply. Bonus wine via redemption. See in-store for details. Bonus Wolf Blast wine offer. Limited time only at Harvey Norman.
Our sponsor.
And this is 4CRB. The program is The Law and You. Free legal advice is what we give, and we have a call from Margaret, who will be our last call of the day. Good morning, Margaret. How are you today?
I'm very well, thank you, John.
How can we help?
I'm inquiring at, there's been a recent death in the family in a motor car accident, and I'm just ringing regarding that boy's not insurance so much, but superannuation. He didn't have a will, and we can only presume that he would have, when he would have had superannuation, he would have had to nominate. I presume he would have to nominate a beneficiary. Is that correct?
Normally he should have nominated a beneficiary. So what you need to do is get onto his employer, find out who his superannuation was with, and they should be able to help you by telling you whether there was a nomination. In his circumstances, he was not married?
No, but in a recent de facto relationship.
All right, okay. Well, and any children?
The lady has 3.
Right, okay. Well, it very well may be that his de facto partner is the one who's going to receive the super, including the insurance out of the super, if there is some. So the way to do it is to get onto his employer, or if you or his de facto has papers of his that show where he held his super, then you would be able to contact the superannuation company directly.
All right, thanks. I can contact the boss. That's fine.
Yeah, that's probably the best idea, I think, Margaret. All
right
then.
Thank you.
Okay, then. All the very best. Now, unfortunately, we've got 2 more callers online. We've got Anne there, and we've also got Heather. It's unfortunately coming up a bit too quickly to the news, and so I won't be able to take those calls online. But what I will do, if you can hold on, I'll take those calls as soon as I get off air. This is John Fradgley from the Bell Legal Group. It's been great to be with you today for another program of The Law and You, and thank you to all the people who've called in and made for such an interesting program. I'll look forward to being back with you again next week, but until then, as always, it's goodbye and God bless.